All right. Hello, and welcome everyone for joining us. It says that we are live, so we are going to jump right in it today. It seems like all the things was trying to happen to keep us from putting this information out today. So you know it is going to be good. So welcome to Lessons Beyond the Stethoscope. This is where we provide you with the practical tips and tools that you can use in your everyday life because what we understand is that life affects your health. And this is episode 14. I'm not crazy, but life is life in. And this is how to maintain emotional wellness and balance. So, since we are live, I want you guys to go ahead and share this. Let people know that we are on because I am joined by Dr. Rhonda Mattox, and she's going to give us some great information. So, let them know because I know that all of us have gone through the pandemic and now we're on the other side of the pandemic, but life is still life and we all need to figure out how to make sure that we are emotionally sound and secure. But like I said, today we have joining us Dr. Rhonda Mattox. She is a board certified psychiatrist. She's also the president of the Arkansas Medical, Dental, and Pharmaceutical Association. And she is the host of I'm Not Crazy But on blackdoctor.org. And she is America's go to psychiatrist. So, you know, she has all the information that we need on today. So, thank you so much, Dr. Rhonda, for joining us on today.
It is my pleasure. Let me just say I'm a fan of the show and I watch it frequently. So it is a delight for me to be here today. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. Like I said, Dr. Rhonda, life is lifing for everybody. That's why I still, again, guys, go ahead and share. Tell us like where you are watching from, um, because we want to know that you are here because we want to say hello. This is an interactive show. We want to be able to answer your questions because that is why we are here. We are here to serve. We are not here to just chit chat and talk to each other, which we can do at any moment. But really, right now, today is for us to serve you and to answer your questions. So let us know that you are here so we can say hello. Let us know throughout any moment if you have a question. Oh, I was wondering about this. How do I handle this situation? Let us know because we
Yeah.
really want to help you guys get through this because we know how the pandemic was for us and people are still putting the pieces back together today, and I'm still seeing it in my office every day. I know Dr. Rhonda is still seeing it in her office of people just like, oh my gosh, I'm still trying to get it together. But one of the main things that I feel like is a part of that puzzle is emotional wellness and balance. And some people may say mental health. Either way, my thing is, you guys know, I always want to start off with a foundation. Like, what exactly is that? What does that mean when we say emotional wellness or mental health and having balance? What exactly is that, Dr. Rhonda?
I think people use emotional wellness and mental health interchangeably. I think about emotional wellness as a part of mental health, and there's a spectrum. And when I think of emotional wellness, I think about your resilience, your bounce backness, your ability to kind of rebound when life is happening. It's also looking at like your mindset and how you navigate your emotions. Sometimes can you sit with your emotions? Can you sit with uncomfortable emotions, or do you try to numb them out by drinking or shopping or partnering up with people quickly? Those types of things. Many times when people think of mental health, they think of the absence of illness. I don't necessarily think of it as an absence of illness, but are you moving towards your optimal self? Are you moving towards the self that brings you joy, not just happiness? Because happiness is about what's happening externally, but joy is about what's happening internally, regardless of what's happening externally. And you may have some setbacks, but are you able to rebound and reshift your thinking? Can you have peace in the midst of the storms?
That's really good. I like the fact that you also brought in like mindset, and I'm going to touch on that in a second. But the other thing that you talked about when you mentioned like emotional wellness is just the resilience and being able to bounce back. And that's one of the things that a lot of people kind of talk about and what they are doing. But what we've noticed, and when you mention that, I also think about just people saying mental health and having the stigma with that, having an issue with saying that word. But what I tell people is that we all have some form of mental health, right? It's just like we all have a diet.
Mm-hmm.
Now, your diet could be Mediterranean, it could be keto, it could be fast food. I didn't say what kind of diet you had, but I said we all have a diet, right? And I
Yeah.
think that's the same thing that goes along with like mental health, like you were talking
Mm-hmm.
about, and kind of where you are on that spectrum. So, talk to us about what happens when the mental health is not healthy or your emotional well-being is not healthy. What does that do to you overall?
Mm. I think what we've seen, particularly during the pandemic, is chronic stress happening to us. And so
Mhm.
many of us prior to the pandemic, and particularly Black women, since we're Black women, we had the weight of the world on our shoulders. We were caring for cousins and nephews and nieces, and we were taking care of our children, and we were working, and we were superheroes at work that people dumped on, that they told us their issues. And we were delicately balancing. We were strutting the walkway of life and making it look easy, but we were weighed down. Well, then the pandemic happened, and it's almost like you got a crook in your back, a crook in your shoulder, and you may not have the emotional reserve that you had in times past to handle what other people were saying. Maybe you lost some people. Some people died. You took a hit in the finances. You lost your job. You were gravely disappointed. Maybe you inherited some new kids that you weren't intending to take care of. And so life lifed on us. And then we found ourselves in places that we didn't intend to, that we had not planned for. Because we plan for some things, right? Our 5-year plan, our 10-year plan. And so the pandemic wasn't in the plan. And how we and who we were surrounded with, when we were surrounded with people who would normally have our backs, but now the people that we would run to share our tragedies, they were lifing as well. And so we didn't
Mhm.
have our emotional support team to leap in and save the day and make us laugh, or we had them present, but because we knew what they were going through, we didn't want to share with them. And so we got out of sorts, out of sync, and then maybe we were, God was our go-to, but now perhaps we're angry at God because how did you let such and such die? I thought you were going to step in. And so many of our support systems, including our spiritual support, we were angry at or they were absent. And then we were left with ourselves. And a man left to his own devices can really have some struggles, right? And so we found ourselves at this low. And many of us, because of how we were brought up, didn't believe in mental health treatment, because we had bought into the lie. I'm supposed to be strong. Well, darling, this is not about weakness. This is not about strength or weakness. This is about life. And what you are experiencing is a human response to crap happening in your life. And it's not about if you're weak or strong. It's about, are you going to be courageous enough to do what it takes to get back up, get off the sidelines, and do this thing called life. Prince said, we're trying to get through this thing called life, and you get through it by doing what you need to do to get through it. Whether that's invest in a counselor and a coach, whether that's create a whole new support team, or ditch that job that is toxic as you know what, because it's wearing you down, and maybe you start that business. But you have to start putting yourself back on the list, not at the bottom of the list, but at the top of the list, and doing what the people on the plane say. Baby, if this plane goes down, put the oxygen mask on yourself, and then help the child that's most likely to succeed.
Right. That's a very good point though, because so many things were happening. And I love that you touch on the fact of the support systems changed. A lot of times I've met other people who said this person was here for me and they're no longer here. Who do I talk to now? Who am I supposed to reach out to now? How am I supposed to navigate this new normal? So it is important and imperative, like you said, that you have to find that support system. And we're going to come back to that because I really want us to really touch on like how you find that support system and what to do in those situations. But the other issue and the other thing I wanted to talk about was one thing that I found surprising is that they said the number one reason why people call out of work is for emotional or mental health concerns that they have. And I thought that was like, I thought it would be more like physical, but then I realized I said no, because I know people who would come to work, they would look like physically ill. They're coughing, they're sneezing, and you would either see these people, you would go out to certain places of employment, and you would say, that employee should have stayed home. Like, why did they bring all of that around everybody today? They should have. So people will physically get up and go when they're ill, but the main and number one cause why people are calling out is because of their emotional well-being. So why do you think that, and what are some of the ways that it might present for someone to just say, you know what, I can't today. Today is just, I cannot.
Well, you make my heart full with that, because I actually am not familiar with that literature. I know that mental illnesses are in the top debilitating causes of disability, but I wasn't familiar with that. I think that many times we will go to work, and we particularly, and I'll say this particularly if we are people pleasers, or if we are really in need of our income, we will go to work and we want other people to give us permission to go home, to say, oh, sweet pea, you don't look well, go home. But we want them to know we're not lying, that we really are ill, so send us home. So that's one reason why people go in. But many times with the mental health thing, a lot of the conditions will impact your sleep. And so it's like maybe you're going to bed at 3 or 4 a.m. and then you just really can't get up, or you can't concentrate. And one of the things that will happen when your mental health is impacted is maybe your thoughts slow way down to where you're having trouble just executing tasks, or your thoughts speed way up to where it's like you're thinking um, 90 minutes an hour or whatever, and it is, you just can't pull it together to execute, to do. I remember after my mom's death, it was a toll for me to just get out of bed, to brush my teeth, not do work. We're not even talking about work. We're talking about to get out of bed, to eat. And so if you're not eating, if you can't pull it together to brush your teeth, well, darling, that whole find your keys thing, answer the phone and be semi-pleasant, not bite your neighbor's head off, your coworker's head off, like that's a wrap. That's not even in the cards today. Right. So many times you better stay home, because if you do, you might get fired for checking your boss.
Right. That you're absolutely right. And what I want to touch on and say here, because like I said, there's that stigma that we have, but we are not talking about you have been diagnosed with anxiety or
Right.
depression or bipolar disorder, anything like this. This is just everyday life. You could be hit with any like situation that you were not aware was going to happen, because again, life is lifing, and it just
Mm-hmm.
shows up and it does whatever it wants when it wants, and you're like, whoa, I wasn't expecting that. Oh, I didn't know this happened. Like, there are some serious things that I've had patients come in and talk to me about, and I'm like, you're right. Like, I understand, we're going to figure out how to get through this. But it could even be the everyday stressors: work,
Mm-hmm.
family, obligations, because you're going to this organization and going to this organization, and you're pulled really thin and you're stretched thin, and all of those stressors can then pile up, and then we can start to see. So can that also happen? Like, people will have, work and kids and this and that and all these other little small things. Can those small things eventually say, okay, I just can't go into work today? Does that happen?
And we're talking about right now, what's happening right now. But think about the fact that there are also people who are living with adverse childhood experiences, who who are bringing to the table trauma, who are bringing to the table sexual abuse, or witnessing violence, or have lived through Hurricane Katrina, and now all these storms hit. So you have what's happening right now, but then you also have what's happened in the past, and you have the fact that many of us because mental health in some of our communities is so stigmatized, it is more socially acceptable for you to drink and smoke marijuana to numb out than it is for you to courageously invest in yourself, talk to someone, deal with the issues at hand, and then move on with your life. And so some of us have been doing a lot of this stuff on our own, and now that's adding to it. And the chronic stress, like all of us engage with stress, but the chronic nature of what we've had going on, really is doing us in. Did I answer your question?
No, absolutely, you did. And since you touched on the stigma part of things, I'm going to go ahead and get into that because one of the things is you have a show called I'm Not Crazy, But. Now, when I saw the title, I got it and I was like, oh, this is going to be good. But I also know that I have been told in the healthcare field I shouldn't use that term. That's a no-no. That's taboo. You don't do it. But I have several patients who would come in, and I will just honestly want to check in on their well-being because I just want to know all of you. I see you have high blood pressure. I see the diabetes, but I know life can affect that. So I'm just checking in. How are you? How do you feel? How's everything going? And I can tell some of them will just have a look on their face, but then some of them will just come out and say, "Okay, I'm not crazy. Like, why are you asking me these questions? Because I'm not crazy." And I said, I understand. It's okay. I'm just checking in. But you were like, I'm going to embrace this term. I'm going to use it because this is what a lot of people understand and know. But talk to me about that, like why you chose that. First, talk about a little bit more about like stigma and what's keeping people from
Okay.
getting what they need. But then how you said, you know what, I'm going to use this to be able to put information out so people can understand what's going on.
Well, many of your guests may not have noticed, but I'm a Black woman. And so I engage a lot with Black patients. And many times when they come in to me as a psychiatrist, they are coming in trying to convince me that they are not crazy. And I would, have to say, listen, I'm not sure what your doctor told you when they referred you, but I am here. I'm a part of your toolbox to support you so that you can reach the life you're trying to reach. I am not here to give you a diagnosis unnecessarily. I am here as support. Now, and certainly, now insurance companies want me to give you a diagnosis in order for them to pay for it. And so sometimes, there's some diagnoses that may come along with satisfying your insurance company. But from my perspective, they would come in and they would all say, some variant of I'm not crazy, but dot dot dot, this is happening, this is happening, this is happening. And I would have to just kind of reframe the conversation. And they would have this belief that I understand because I grew up with that belief of depression is not a luxury that we as communities of color have the right to. And so they would think this is another community's disease. This is not our disease. Or they would think I'm supposed to be strong. I'm supposed to be able to handle this by myself. And I understand that because if I asked my mother a question, she would invariably say, go look it up. Now at the time, I didn't realize maybe my mother's literacy was not where it needed to be. So she didn't know. So she would tell me to go look it up. But we grew up hearing these messages to fix it for yourself, to not ask for help, that you have to be 10 times better than your counterparts. And we integrated that into just our DNA. And so we really struggle with asking for help, right? But as a woman of faith, I also have come to believe and know that in a multitude of counselors, there's safety. And so I don't have to know everything, right? And when you integrate that and you really embrace that in the multitude of counselors, there's safety and, and blessed, happy, and I'm gonna go church on you. We're in the South and that's just who I am. But blessed, happy is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly. Well, how are you happy then? Maybe you walk in the counsel, in the support, in the wisdom of the godly. You understand? And so I don't have a thing. I no longer have a thing with seeking out counsel. I'm not going to spend 3 hours diving into something I know anything about when I can call Dr. Ashley Booth and say, "Hey, I'm having a fluttering of my heart. I did psychiatry. I haven't studied this stuff in 20 years. What's happened?" And then here you tell me, go to the doctor or whatever, And so we really have to get beyond our, I got to fix this thing, I got to get through life by myself. And if you're surrounded by a community of people who are telling you that, then, your tribe is not contributing to your sense of wellness. And maybe you need to revisit that as well. And
Oh,
don't go
that's
tell them I said
good.
cut off, because that's not what I said. But
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Say that again.
I said, don't go tell your mom and your sister I said you need to cut them off because they're not helping with your wellness. But I'm saying, examine that and put you a team together of people who support your mental wellness.
Right. And before we get into the teams, one of the things I want to talk about is mindset, because we also have to help ourselves. And I like how you say, okay, you have to, put together a team. You have to figure out, okay, this person is not serving me well, so I'm not going to be able to engage with them. This is not going to work well for me. So I'm going to have to spend a little less time with them, whatever it is to protect your peace.
Mm-hmm.
But the other thing is, I know that it also starts with you.
Mm-hmm.
And one of those things is mindset. And when it goes back to the I'm not crazy, but I have people who come in and say, I'm not crazy, but, and don't take offense to this, doc, but I don't like doctors. And I was like, I didn't do nothing to you. Like, what did I do to you? Or they say, I'm not crazy, but I don't like to take medicine. I said, okay, I don't know how we're going to fix this problem sometimes if we don't do that. But I've seen how certain mindsets can either help someone or they can hinder someone. And it's about whether or not you're going to accept that diagnosis that you have and the treatment plan that they say, okay, this is what we need to do. And whether or not you're going to go along with it, or you say, no, that's okay. Because I've had some people say, nope, and I'm not going to, that's okay. And then they finally see their health continues to decline. And then they say, oh, okay, I'm ready now. And they come back. But not only do we have to do that original treatment plan, we might have to add something else because some other things have happened. So I've been talking a lot about mindset, but what are your thoughts about mindset with people just getting their total healing, not just, because we talk about a lot of other things with mindset and mindfulness and all of that, but it could just be something simple as I have a headache and I need to take some Tylenol and move on with my life. But you say, I don't like medicine, so you don't do it, and you're sitting here struggling with this. So talk a little bit about that.
I will say one of the things about me is that I do not try to force a diagnosis on people. When I see them, they may be clear cut bipolar disorder. And what I will say is, these are some of my diagnostic considerations. But what I want to do is I want to do a thorough evaluation. I want to request your medical records. I want to get some lab work on you so we can see if your thyroid is off, because that can manifest as some emotional, some mental health issues. Now, what I will tell you is that you are experiencing a manic episode. So I can't tell you if this is because of thyroid, I can tell you how we treat the manic episode while we are looking this up. Are you okay with that? Or would you like to And so I don't force a diagnosis on them. And then after, 2 or 3 visits, I've ruled out some things. I've looked at some other things. I will say, this is the diagnosis that I'm looking at based on boop, 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 boop. Now, many times, because they are feeling better, because we have the meds in their system, if they've agreed to do that, if that's a need, then they don't care if I call it Kalamazoo, Akawaka. They feel better, okay? So I don't try to press diagnoses on people. That's not it. And then the other thing I will say is, these symptoms meet this diagnosis. I am not telling you to walk around and say, I'm bipolar. You can say, this is what you can say. I've been told that I have bipolar disorder. I'm handing that over to the Lord, but this is what I don't care what you do with the diagnosis. I'm not telling you to say I am. You can say I have these symptoms, whatever you do, because I don't want you to internalize that. And then you can speak life. You can speak healing over whatever you want to do, but let's deal with the symptoms that are keeping you from being who you want to be. Now, mindset is, how are you going to now deal with this? Are you going to grab it by the horns and then deal with it right now in the next 3 months so that you can live your best life? Or are you going to lie to yourself, lie to me, and push it away? And because you don't believe in medicine, are you going to drink and then get liver issues and maybe get a DUI, or you go smoke weed and then maybe catch a charge, because while it may be legal in some states, federally, it is illegal. Okay. And you don't have glaucoma or cancer, and I'm not going to prescribe it. And all I ask is, like I have a good friend, Dr. Alexis, Christy Alexis. She said, just trust me as much as you trust your weed man. I've been in school for 16 years doing this. Your weed man does not have a biochemistry degree. You don't know what he's giving you. Trust that I have your best interest at heart a little bit more than your weed man does. That's all I ask. If he give you a bad batch, you have no recourse. If I give you something, you can sue me if you want to. You can write up a complaint. You can go online and talk about me real bad and run patients off if you want to. But you have no recourse with your weed man.
Right. But it sounds to me, though, when it comes to that, what I like is that you're saying that it is a partnership, that you're making sure that you have a trusting relationship with the person that you're working with. So not only is it a partnership, but it's also a process, because you mentioned, you come into me first and this is what I think it is, but then I'm going to have to do some labs. I'm going to have to get your records, and then I'll get that information and look at the picture and re-examine and see what's going on. Then we see how you're doing, and then we have to reevaluate again. So it is a process. So that's why I tell people, just be open. Find your person. We always talk about that. Find your person that you feel like has your best interest at heart, who's going to be able to partner with you in your health and make sure that you're getting what you need. And then excuse me, and then also making sure that you understand that it is a process, because some people are like, this has been going on for a long time, I want you to fix it like today. And I'm like, I am going to try to get as much as I can under control, but I don't want to overwhelm you or overwhelm myself, because then if I start adding all these things, take this, take that, and then do this and blah blah blah, then we're both like confused or overwhelmed. So just make sure that you are willing to give the process a chance. So thank you for
Right.
that. Now, once
Ask
people have,
patients
just
to
go
give me
ahead.
6 months. I just say, if you would give me 6 months, you didn't get here
Mm,
overnight. I'm not going to fix you overnight. Give me 6 months. I'm going to start. We can, first of all, let me get all the information, because you're going to leave here and say, oh, I wish I told her, da 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 da.
mm-hmm.
So keep a journal to where you're writing down what you wish you had told me. I'm going to, personally, I normally have my nurse contact them within a week, because I know they didn't pick up the medicine. Or they talked to Junebug, and Junebug said, I knew somebody who was on that medicine, they turned green. And so, I tell them, and I'll go ahead and say, listen, if you have any medical issues, understand that I'm triple fellowship board certified. I would like for you to discuss it with the doctor, not with your cousins, sisters, bus drivers, hairdresser, with me. And if you find that after we have spent this time together, you do not trust me, let me refer you to someone that you can trust, because I don't want you to hide what's going on. And your patient's going to think, Lord, this doctor on here is just showing out and cutting up. But listen, I'm going to treat you with dignity and respect. I'm going to assume that you know what's happening with your body, and we will cooperate and collaborate together. I'm not going to treat you like a kid and just give you a medicine. I'm going to over-explain probably. But I want you to, when you leave, to understand that I am not, I don't have an ego in this. I want you to get better. It's like you are my masterpiece, okay? And you are representing what Rhonda Mattox is able to do. So I don't want you out there looking like a zombie. I don't want to put a bunch of weight on you. I'm going to listen to what your treatment objectives are, and then I'm going to
That is
incorporate.
so. Yeah, I love that your patients, people who see you, are like your masterpiece. That is so good, because like you said, you want people to be living their best life. So when they say, "Oh, I see Dr. Rhonda," then you would say, "Oh yeah, like my patients are doing well. This is a representation of what I do, because I know you are so passionate about what you do, and I know your story, and you've told your story several times about kind of what led you to psychiatry in the first place. So I know that this is just like your ministry and what you do. So
Amen.
knowing that you are all in with your patients, I know
All
that.
in.
Yeah.
Yes.
So then talk to me about some things that people can do before they come to me or you. Like, how can they start working on their emotional wellness and balance, like at home, those sorts of things? What can they do?
So first off, I know that it's easier to get a man to change their religion than it is to change their diet. And yet I'm going to begin with diet. I'm not going to ask you to, one of the things I do is say, please add water. Okay. So be hydrated, because if you're dehydrated, you can be tired and fatigued and have problems concentrating. So drinking water. Okay. If you're not sleeping, I'm going to say, cut back on your caffeine. I'll say that eventually, but I begin with starting with drinking water, because if you're drinking water, you're drinking less caffeine. And if you need to drink caffeine, my ask is don't drink it after 2 p.m. because it will mess with your sleep. And then I'm going to talk to you about who is around you. Like, what are you watching on TV? What are you feeding your soul? What are you feeding your spirit? What are you feeding your mind? Are you around a bunch of negative Nancy's that are always telling you what you can't do? Then I'm going to say to you gracefully, dial it back and start watching TED Talks that are happy. Start watching inspirational TV. Cut back on the NCIS and the Criminal Minds and all of that. Dial it back. Listen to music that is uplifting. Soar. I don't know these songs, but some of the songs that make you feel better. Watch TV that makes you feel better. And then I'm going to tell you, pay attention to what you're thinking. Catch your thoughts. What are you saying about yourself? If you're saying, I'm lazy, I'm this, I'm that, I'm going to say, you don't talk to my patient like that. You need to stop that. If you wouldn't let somebody talk to your child like that, and some of y'all would, but but you shouldn't, do that. And then journal. Get it out of your head and onto paper. Journal. If you're a person of faith, reconnect with that in a healthy way if that doesn't bring you guilt and condemnation. But I'm going to talk to you about what you're hearing, what you're seeing, what you're thinking, and then I'm going to tell you to get moving. Now, I'm not going to tell you to join the gym, because I know that's a four-letter word. I'm not going to tell you to exercise, because I know that's a four-letter word. But I'm going to say, hula hoop with your kids. Go for nature walks with your kids. Enjoy the outdoors. Spend time with, just meditating outside. If you like to dance, do we dance, Beyonce, Michael Jackson, whatever it is, just move. That's it. Get off the sofa, get out from in front of the TV and move. And do it with people that you enjoy, friends that you enjoy, coworkers that you enjoy. Move with your kids, that kind of stuff. So I'm going to say, get moving.
Get moving. So once they have done all of those things, because those are fantastic tips, like water. Some people, I don't know if I should tell on myself, but at a point in my life, I did not drink enough water, and I thought I was. And then I got the ugly eye from someone who said, that's all you drink? That's all you've had today? So water is definitely key. So I will say that I am proud to say that I do drink more water now. But you're right, water, sleep, good diet, and I start journaling, keeping track. And I love taking control of like your thoughts. And if you want someone else to say those things to you or to a loved one, then don't let your thoughts say it to yourself. Listen, I could do a whole like thing on that. That is amazing, because I think a lot of times we are so hard on ourselves that we don't give ourselves grace. We don't, we're like, oh, I got to do this, and I'm not where I want to be or whatever, and we start comparing and doing all these other things, and we can be so mean to ourselves. But if we saw someone do that to someone else, we would be like mama bear, papa bear, and be like, hey, don't do that. You don't do that. So I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Love on yourself. Now, once we have done all of those things and life is still lifing, and I still feel like I am not in control, I'm unbalanced, things are just not settled, my spirit isn't right, my mindset just doesn't, I just can't do the things, and I am not having that joy that you're talking about, then what do I do? Who do I reach out to? Where do I go?
Now, let me tell you, I'm not going to say do that after that. I'm not going to say get you a therapist after all that. I am a firm believer that all of us need a mental health tune-up every 3 months or so. And so I do not like for people to hit rock bottom and then come see me. And I'm going to tell you why. Because I don't know their baseline. And so for those of you who are listening to me, I already know you're going to roll your eyes. I'm not scared of you. I'm going to tell you anyway. Okay. I say right now, while you're doing fine or not doing fine, go ahead and start talking to other people about who, look, you can go to psychology today. You can go to therapy for brown girls, therapy for black boys, black men. Go to a directory and psychology today and look through and and look at the pictures. You can type in your zip code and then look at the pictures. And find someone whose bio looks like what you think you would appreciate, whose face looks like what you think you would appreciate, and start shopping for a therapist today. Now, why am I telling you today? Because you may not even need it today, but today, because it takes 3 months to get a new patient, 3 or 4 months. I mean, if you ever try to get into a psychiatrist or a therapist, it takes a long time. And I am a firm believer that at least every 3 months, life will have lifed you out. You will be into it with your partner. He will, she will be on your last nerve, them be on your last nerve. You will be have some issue going on at work. Those kids will be driving you batty. You might want to choke your boss, or somebody has died. You don't get along with your best friend, and you were seeing a therapist. And I know all of y'all say, sometimes all I need is just to go away with my girlfriends. Well, I've had a bunch of different girlfriends over my lifespan. And what you get when you pay for therapy is this confidentiality. And when y'all break up, when you break up with
Hey, hold on, Dr. Rhonda. Tell them one more time what they get. Say it one more time for the people in the back who did not hear you. Tell them what they get.
confidentiality, experience, knowledge, training. And when you say, Doctor, I don't want to see you no more, we done. You're not going to see me on Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, or Twitter putting your business out there like you may with your ex-boyfriend, your ex-husband, with your girlfriends that don't like you no more, that now sleeping with your boyfriend, whatever. Okay? I can't sleep with you or your boyfriend. Okay? Because that is code of conduct. So what you get is experience, wisdom, you get background training, and you get confidentiality. You will not see your business on any of those forums. And so, family, what I'm really saying to you today is go ahead right now and start looking for you somebody. Schedule that appointment. Even if you don't need it, by the time you get the appointment, darling, you'll need it. And you want them to see you while you're not at rock bottom. You want to know if you like them before you hit rock bottom. Because maybe you have 2 visits, you're like, I'm not feeling her like that. And then you can move on before you actually meet somebody. And this is the thing, because many times we will share our hearts with people who have an invested interest in the decision that we make. If mama lived with you and you talk about moving to Miami, mama gonna tell you all the reasons not to move because mama is benefiting from you living here. But if you're talking with a licensed mental health professional, then they're going to ask you questions that pull out the answers. They're not there to tell you do this, do that, but they're going to ask you questions so that you realize what your values are, what your beliefs are, and then you align your decisions with that, and they're going to hold you accountable. And that's what we need: accountability. And when you're walking in purpose, you just feel better.
So good. Listen, you turned me on to psychology today a while back, and that is one of the things that I tell people all the time to go. And I was like, listen, I don't get paid from psychology today. I get no benefit from it whatsoever. Right. We don't. But it is such a good resource because, like you said, you can tailor that thing down. They have gender, they have, if you want to be Christian or not. And there's so many different ways. Like you can really customize the person that you want. Then their pictures and stuff pop up. Some people have videos and they'll introduce themselves. So that gives you a good way of saying, okay, is this my person or is it not? And I like the fact that you said, try it, go ahead and make the appointment now because it's the same thing with like psychiatry and with primary care. I have some patients that say, well, I'm not going to come see you right now. And I said, okay, why? And they said, well, because I don't need you now. And I said, I understand that. You may not. But the problem is when you show up and you're sick, then I am now, you're irritated with me because I'm going to ask you all these questions because you have health history that I don't know anything about. If I'm asking, did you have this before? And if so, what did so and so do about it? So there's a lot of things that I'm trying to figure out in that moment. So if you come to
Yeah,
that
request
person
medical records.
right. And so
Mm-hmm.
when you come, when you're well, then they say, okay, I know this person. I know what's going on. And then now let me figure out what to do with this situation. But once you come and you have all the things, then it's like, oh, whoa, let's figure out how to kind of dissect all these pieces. It can still happen, but you want to make sure that when you're doing something like that, it's an intimate process and you want to do it with your person.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I know for one of the things that I realized is, a lot of times we are uncomfortable saying, I'm going to go to a psychiatrist. And so I started doing coaching, as well, because the coaching is time limited. It may be 3 to 6 months, and then you go on about your best life, and they circle back and talk to me. So some things, is coaching about, career or relationship or whatever. Other things is actual psychiatry, mental health. You need a medicine, da 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 da. But when you navigate this thing, understand, think about this as pouring fuel into your tank. Are you going to give yourself premium gas, or are you going to give yourself regular unleaded? And then the other piece is, think about how you want to show up. People will say, I went to a therapist and she just da 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 da. Well, let me just tell you this. I've been to some horrible hairstylists, but guess what? I found me another one. If you had one bad experience with a therapist or 5 bad experiences with 2 or 3 therapists, keep moving. Just like you would if you were dating, if you were have a particular sexual orientation and then y'all break up. You don't just men, you normally don't just wear off. You go to the next one. So just because you had one experience, I mean, this hairdo right here, this is what I signed up for. But guess what? I'm going back. I might give you a new, but you know, if the hair color don't turn out, go get some new hair color. If the therapist don't work out, go get a new therapist. You're worth
Mm-hmm.
it, darling. You're worth it.
Absolutely. Well, I've so enjoyed our time. We have touched on a lot today, from how to get their balance, how to recognize when you are off balance, what to do in those moments. Do you have any other tips or comments that you would like to share with us on today?
Yes, I'm going to say, don't hold other people hostage. They may have wronged you, and you are walking in unforgiveness, and that is the equivalent of drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. Figure out how you can work through your emotions for whatever they did that they should not have done, and let some of those things and release them. And you releasing them does not mean that you're saying it was okay that they did it, but you were releasing yourself. Some of us are living in prisons that we built for ourselves because we're so upset about things that happened in our childhood that should not have happened. But you're holding up your best life, and you're not bringing your best parenting self to the table. You're not bringing your best partner self. You're not bringing your best entrepreneur spirit or your best worker self, and you're holding yourself hostage to something that someone else did for you. My best counsel for living your best life is to start working through some of those things that happened that you had no control over, that should not have happened. Working through your anger, working through your disappointment, working through that so the rest of your life can be the best of your life, and that you don't stay there. You need to say, you need to give an eviction date to some of the things that you've been entertaining so that you can go forth and live your best life. Thank you for asking.
Sure, thank you. So tell them where all they can find you, because I know that people are going to be like, oh my gosh, this was so good. She's so relatable. This is like, so if they have other questions or want to follow up or just want to see, because I know you put out great tips about other things as well, they may want to watch your show. So tell us a little bit more about how they can do that.
Thank you. I am on blackdoctor.org. If you go to Facebook and Google blackdoctor.org, I'm on every Thursday from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. Central Standard Time every Thursday from 11 to 12 on I'm Not Crazy But, where we tackle some of the taboo topics that you may talk about in the beauty shop, but that you don't talk about at the dinner table, around mental health, emotional wellness. This Thursday we're talking about I'm not crazy, but I'm sick of these doggone kids. And can I get a witness? Okay. So we talk about, those kinds of things that don't always fall under mental health, but it's parenting, it's being just a human or whatever. So you can find me there. You'll notice on the screen is at Dr. Rhonda Mattox. I'm on most social media platforms. I regularly engage on Facebook. I do a radio show, but that's in Arkansas, so you probably can't find me there, but that's on Rejoice 103.3 and 105.5. But I love what I do. I love helping people because of my life story, which is that my mom attempted suicide while she was pregnant with me. I don't see mental health or mental illness or emotional wellness as something that is a job. For me, I realize when I'm helping people take care of their mental health, I'm not just helping the person in front of me. I'm helping their family that's attached to them. I'm helping the people who love them, who are connected to them. And so for me, this truly is ministry, as you mentioned earlier. And it's just something that I love to do. If you want to reach out to me to invite me to speak at your next event, you can find me at Safe Counsel at Dr. Rhonda Mattox, and or you can just DM me on one of the social media platforms, and we'll get you questionnaires to figure out if I'm a really good fit for you. But I appreciate the work that you're doing, Dr. Booth, in educating. And let me just tell you, family, Dr. Booth is the bomb diggity. That's high praise from a 70s girl, all right? But she's the bomb diggity, and she's doing that thing. I had an opportunity to visit her office, and she is over there doing healthcare the way it's supposed to be done, listening and paying good attention to people. So I'm honored that you invited me, and I hope to come back again.
Oh, thank you so much. I will definitely have you back. I'm already thinking in my head because today was so good. So I'm like, oh, when else can I get her on the schedule and get us to link up again? But I really appreciate you. I absolutely love you. And thank you so much for spending your time with us today. Family, be sure to look her up at Dr. Rhonda Mattox, Mattox. You can find her, like she said, on all social media. She's also on blackdoctor.org, on Facebook, and on YouTube. Is that correct? And
Yes.
then, yes, and so you want to watch the show every Thursdays, as she mentioned. I am also going to put that information out so that way you will have it and you can follow her. But thank you guys so much for tuning in on today. And until next time, we will see you later and be well. Take care.